the reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaway just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
I said Sean Rye East. I'm proud. I said Sean Rye East. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Sean, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and you know, game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. It's very important that you know yourself to the highest degree possible, because it's through knowing ourselves that we're able to know other people. You are the most important person in the room, and the better that you know yourself, the better that you're able to communicate to others. So you're not only playing the game knowing who you are, but you're also playing the game knowing who everyone else is, so that you're not playing blind.
He's extremely engaging with people. He has a fantastic smile, and he's just very high energy person.
This is called leadership development. So we have to be independently knowledgeable and considerate to know who we are, so we can more effectively know who other people are. As the leader, it's your responsibility to allocate resources in the right places. If you don't know how to communicate effectively, you're losing the battle. All right, guys. Listen, we are, how do you call it? Don't call it a comeback, right? That's what they say. Don't call it a comeback. We've been here for years. Okay, listen, Bobby. The reason why I wanted to come on really quick is because we were having so many conversations in the background about how do you actually do it? And I know people are like, how do you actually do what, Sean? We came up with a term, right? Listening to people and hearing what people, number one, let me just say that I've been working extremely hard, guys, bringing you guys brands to life. First and foremost, let me say that. I've been working to bring phenomenal entrepreneurs and executives brands to life, right? So you'll hear the information, but at some point there has to be implementation, because if there's no implementation, then there's no transformation. It's just information. It's just courses. It's just content. It's just talking. And I'm not a talking head. Like, I'm not here for entertainment purposes. If I'm here for any purpose at all, it's empowerment purposes, not entertainment purposes, empowerment purposes. And for those of you who don't know me, I apologize for that, right? If you don't know who I am, then accept my apologies. That's my fault. and I will work as hard as possible to change that narrative and change that situation. However, for those who do, pardon the hiatus, but I've been working on the evidence-based part, which means we've been building real brands for real entrepreneurs and real executives on the back end consistently. That's what we've been engaged in. That's the reason for the hiatus. Number two, we've been working to help people build what we call their personal brand retirement plan. Now, when I say that, personal brand is your new retirement plan, people look at me like I'm cross-eyed, right? Yeah. So I said, you know what? Let me bring someone who is a shining example of that personal brand retirement plan. So it's not just me saying it. Because I could say it till I'm blue in the face, but if you haven't experienced it or seen someone or heard from someone who has experienced it, you might say, Sean Rais is up here. He could have retired, so what? That's what he did. But you forget, guys, I went live on Facebook and we did like 5 salaries in less than 90 days. But anyway, you may say, well, Sean got 3 master's degrees. He's up here, I'm over here. Okay, so I wanted you to hear from someone who's on your level. If you're writing this down, if you're really watching this, you should be writing. Don't listen to me without a pen and pad. On your level. How can we make it real for you? All right, Sean, you retired, so what? How can I build a personal brand and that personal brand become my retirement plan? What does that really look like? So to answer that question, I've brought Bobby Jackson Jr., Staff Sergeant in the military for 12 plus years. Now, Bobby met me. Bobby, how long was it ago that you met me?
It's almost 5 years now.
Almost 5 years. Guys, if you're watching this, catching up to it, hashtag replay squad. It's okay. I understand. A lot of people are at work right now. We want to help you with your personal brand retirement plan. So Bobby's known me now for 5 years. How long did it take you, Bobby, from first hearing about personal brand to actually walking off of your gig, your situation? And the first thing you wanted to do when we met was retire your wife. So why don't you kind of walk the people watching through that process so they can hear from someone who's closer to in their shoes?
Absolutely. So to answer the first question, it was not long at all. It was about a year. Once I came into the brand, I started getting the information and downloading it. Within a year, I was really walking away. I was hanging it up. And in the military, it's interesting because you've got to file different paperworks, extensions, like a re-enlistment if you want to stay in, or if you're going to get out, then you're out. So that's important because when I signed my EAS, so pretty much if you're going to stay in, you've got to sign paper. And if you're going to get out, you got to sign paper. So when I was at this crossroad, I met Sean and I'm like, oh man, I got to get out. So the brand gave me the confidence to sign the papers. Like if I didn't have the brand that I had, if I didn't have the skill sets that I had acquired from that journey, I wouldn't have signed those papers. Because if you do, you can't come back in under certain circumstances, or you can't extend, or you can't re-enlist. So that was that piece. But with the retirement of the wife and just like hitting those goals and really being able to transform my life, that was the exciting part. You know, that was the exciting part because I realized that freedom is so precious. It's different when you have your own time. It's different when you have your own financial resources. It's different when you have your own goals and visions. Like I was in the Marine Corps for 12 plus years. So during that time, the Marine Corps told me where to be, how much I was going to make, when I was going to get a raise, when I wasn't going to get a raise, when I could see my family, how many miles I could leave my post before I had to be back. If I did leave, they knew when I was coming back. And if anything happened, they better be the first ones to know. I felt like a child in an adult's body that was giving all that I could to my nation. And that was rough. So when I transitioned, freedom hit different. Freedom hit different because I'm like, wait a minute. I got my own money. I bought a house, by the way. So I bought the house, retired the wife. She didn't have to go back to work. All of this stuff happened, and it happened so fast that it's hard to condense it all. But just so that you guys don't miss how fast it happened, when I realized that I was a child in a man's body, and I realized that I didn't have the freedom and flexibility that I gave my blood, sweat, and tears to give other Americans. Like, can you believe that? Like going to combat, deploying, going through all of these courses and all of these training regimens, breaking your body down, and other people in the country have more freedom than you, and you're the one fighting for it. It was a tremendous idea that I had to overcome. So when I finally did that and I overcame that thought, this is what it looked like for me. It's time-wise, so you guys can see how fast your life really can change. So I came into the Alien Call. Alien Call was a phenomenal introduction. Within like 6 months or less, I was in a program. Within that year, I had enough skills and enough brand recognition and say stability. Like, it wasn't big, but it was enough to generate leads. It was enough to close deals. It was enough.
Let's slow down for a minute and let's just say what skills specifically were those for the people watching? Because they might not be acquainted with the brand, so they don't know what we do, how we do it. They don't know who we are. Let's introduce them to the process so that they understand the skills that they'll need to effectively retire themselves.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sean. So the 5W framework, we're not going to go through all of this, but you got the 10 PD framework. Then you've got the World on Notice. Then you've got the 501 framework. And then you've got Mind, Body, Spirit.
What were the skills?
And that's what I wanted to get to, is the skills. So I just wanted to lay that out so that you know what skills came from where. So in the 5W framework, I learned how to think about my business and myself and my market as an entrepreneur. The who, what, when, where, and why. So those skills were how to think about it. In the 10 PD framework, I was learning how to build a narrative while also learning how to get all of the information that I have accumulated out. So like writing a book is a very interesting process. So I'm writing, and I did it over and over and over again because my first book didn't come out right. My second manuscript didn't come out right. My third didn't come out right, but I learned the skill. And the skill of writing helped me transition to the skill of copywriting. So the 10 PD framework would help me really become a copywriter, which is someone that can communicate a message effectively to other people in a cohesive way, a comprehensive way, in a way that creates a narrative. All of those things are pretty important when you're trying to build that brand. And then World on Notice. So that taught me how to publish content, how to do business media, how to turn eyeballs into appointments, people seeing things and saying, hey, that's pretty cool. And then actually going through the process and booking a call. And then the 501 framework was where I learned how to stay in touch with these people, nurturing. So all of these are skills, by the way, that I'm giving you guys. So I laid it out so that I could connect the skill to the week because that's how I remember it. So the 501 framework taught me nurturing. And then Mind, Body, and Spirit was the skill of relaxation and recharge. You know, I learned how to relax. I learned how to recharge. I learned how to maintain. So all of those skills were necessary in order for me to walk away successfully. So I'll take a break there, let Sean kind of organize this, break this down, but that's kind of what it looked like and what it felt like.
For those of you who are just starting, when he says 5W framework and who, what, when, where, why, he means who do you serve? So let's start with that. Matter of fact, the who is two-pronged. So that's a two-pronged W. The first who is who are you? And then the second W is who do you serve? This is where people get it messed up all the time. Like, people don't know who they are. They really are misidentifying themselves. They have no clue who they are. And they don't know who their ideal client is. Some people want to save the whale. Some people want to save the world. Some people want to save 1 million mice. Well, 1 million mice, I mean, realistically, mice aren't going to feed your children. Mice aren't going to feed the lions. A pride, a business, a team. So you got to think, how much money do I want to make and who do I want to serve authentically? So who are you? Who do you serve? And then what? What do you really do? Everybody wants to be a master of, a jack of all and master of none. I speak, I coach, I consult, I do all the things that all the people do. I do all the things. No, you can't do all the things and be known for one thing. It doesn't work that way. If you're a generalist, then you get paid like a generalist. As a matter of fact, you know who has everything? A 99-cent store. A 99-cent store has everything. Good luck with that, right? If you really want to make a dent, then you got to know exactly who you serve and exactly how you serve them. What is your specialty? What is your craft? And then when? I was just having this conversation. When in your client's ideal life do they need you? Because your messaging is going to change if you're working with someone who's 25 to 35 and someone who's 35 to 45 and someone who's 45 to 55 or 65. Your messaging and your language changes. For those of you who don't know, this is where the money is. Ideal client segmentation and communication is where your money exists, right? So where are they now? Where does that ideal client exist? When we go live on multiple platforms. You got to ask yourself, where are my ideal clients? And then, because it's going to get hard, trust me. On your road to retirement, did it get hard, brother?
It did. Had its challenges for sure.
As you were retiring, did it get hard, brother?
Let's just say I got real comfortable saying, okay, great.
Okay, and now after retirement, are there ups and downs? And is it still hard, brother?
I was just talking to my cousin yesterday, and he was like, man, how are you making money? Like, what do you do? And I was like, you've got feast and famines. And sometimes if you do really, really good, you got a lot of money and you stack some away. And then when you have a famine, you live off of that. And when you do really, really good, you live off of that. So it's like, it's ups and downs. And I was just talking to my cousin about it. So
in those trying moments, you got to remember your why, guys. Mm-hmm. So it's branding. He's describing all of the competencies that came in branding, but branding, coaching. So you want to get attraction. That's the brand. Branding gets you the attraction. Coaching is how you serve people, how you help them, the transformation that you provide. And then closing, because listen, if you're getting appointments, but you're not making the kind of money that you need to retire, you've got a closing issue. Real simple. Where is your gap? Matter of fact, if you're watching this, put it in the chat. Where is the gap? Let us know. Branding, coaching, or closing. Are you able to get attention? If you're able to get attention, then that's branding. Good. Check. If you don't know how to retain or create solutions and retention for your client population, that's a coaching problem. And if you're getting the attention, but you're not holding on to the people, or you're not able to close the deal, that's a closing problem. So start there. Let's not get too complicated, because Bobby said he retired within the first year. And in the first year, what we taught was branding, coaching, and then closing. So those three competencies specifically. Now, when you do speaking and marketing and consulting and you pour gasoline on a wildfire, guys. Like, that's adding a zero. That's going insane. That's going crazy. That's adding crazy to the business and the brand that you already have. But before that, if someone was to ask me, Sean, what are the core competencies that I need right now today to leave my job and either break even, which is make the same amount of money with a whole lot more time, or make more money and have more time, what would those three core competencies be? And that would be branding, coaching, and closing. We'll be right back. I want you to think, what of those core competencies do you have, and which ones present a gap for you? The reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaways just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.
There's slow growth, and then there's scale. There's incremental growth, and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 + 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 + 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 + 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 + 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you, you can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence, add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow. I don't talk theory, I don't talk hyperbole, I don't talk opinion. Nothing I talk is anything but evidence-based.
During the G-Circle retreat in Atlanta, I had the pleasure and the honor of listening to Mr. Sean Raiz. He will not only impact your organization, but he will elevate your team to another level.
When you change you, when you put you into the equation, the whole system is different. I guarantee you, you got the right thing. You are the right person. If you can present yourself in the best way possible, there's no negotiation.
His energy is infectious, and I have so many takeaways from the presentation that I can't wait to get started and implement them today to see the result.
Wow, I was a little bit heavier back then. You know, the fuller face. Listen, guys, business development and brand development is the greatest exercise of leadership development and personal development. Like, honestly, like leadership, oh my, like this is the greatest resource. Anyway, if you're running back and forth to work, you don't have time to work on that. Right? If you're eating out of the corner store or whatever's close to you or doing the Grubhub or the Uber Eats, like you don't have the time, the wherewithal to really plan, design, and then effectively execute on the life that you want. You want to do better things. You want to do bigger things. You want to impact more people, but you're capped. You're capped when it comes to revenue. So watch this. You're capped when it comes to those 3 I's: the impact, the income, and the independence. The things you can do, the places you can go, the people you can touch, the money you can make. Bobby just talked about being in the military and being capped as far as miles outside of the base that he could go. There was a cap. Time that you could go without a touch base, like a touching back, like coming back and reporting where you had been and what you had done. He even said some very, very critical language about feeling like an adult in a child's body, asking permission to exist. And I know I've spoken about leaving parts of yourself at the door when you leave home. And then every floor that you go up in the elevator, you're leaving a part of your authentic self on every single floor. So by the time you get to your job, you are the person that they need you to be. Not the person that you need you to be, or the person that, dare I say, God needs you to be.
Yeah.
So we got to think about, what were we really born for? Who were we born to impact? How much money do we really want to make? And who do we want to serve? Back to that 5W framework, Bobby.
Yeah. And there's something you said that really stuck out to me, leaving parts of you at the door. I remember talking to some clients, and a lot of them would say the same thing. And they would be saying things like, I don't agree with the way they do things here. Have you ever been in a situation where your organization does something that doesn't align with your morals, values, and principles, but you got to stay there because they're paying your bills?
I've been there.
So many clients.
I've been there myself.
Have told me that. And in the military, you know, I didn't necessarily agree with everything, but I was, and this is technical, property of the military. You know, some of you all ain't that, you know, that entrenched, but for me, I was that entrenched. So one thing to think about of leaving parts of you at the door, and it's like, who are you really when you leave a part of your morals and your values and your principles? And then you do things that you don't agree with. Like, how many people can be passionate, you know, really passionate when they feel that way? How many people can really exert maximum energy when in the back of their mind, they don't really believe in what they're doing? And I thought that that was really important to me as I was building my brand, was being able to do the things that really set me on fire, communicating the messages that really built my legacy. Because a lot of people talk about legacy, you know, and I hear a lot of people saying, hey, I want a legacy. Well, one thing dawned on me as I was going through this program and through the process, and legacy is a narrative. Think about that. Like, legacy is a story somebody's telling. It's not about the money you leave behind. It's not about the cars. It's not about the houses. Like, that's what we think when we say, I want to leave a legacy. We're most often thinking about inheritance. But when we think about real legacies, like if we think about Martin Luther King, Jeff Bezos, or Malcolm X, we could even say Steve Jobs, like what all these guys have in common? It's not the products, it's not the money, it's not the people, it's the stories that they created and that are continuing to be told. So as I'm back to Sean, that's one thing that this branding process has really helped me do, is control the narrative that I want to be left behind and give people a way to tell it as they, you know, embellish, of course.
What is your story? As you're watching this now, like, just think about it. So branding is introspective. It's an internal exposure, if you will. You got to go deep and you got to internally cultivate and kind of like expose yourself to the realities, the harsh realities that exist, and the harsh realities of your upcoming, your upbringing. So we have a very different take on it, and we segmented. I was telling Brad Leia, we were doing an interview at Lightspeed, and I was telling him, I said, the way I look at branding is worlds different.
Yeah.
And you can chalk it up to me being who I am just authentically, or you could chalk it up to those 3 master's degrees on the wall, or the 3 books behind me that I've written, or the massive people that I've helped in the past 5+ years as entrepreneurs, or the 10+ years as an executive within Fortune 500 companies. The reality is, from 0 to 7, there's something that took place in your life that shaped and changed your narrative and your growth trajectory. And there's something that took place between 7 and 14, and 14 and 21, and 21 and 28. And every 7 years, you become a different person. And this is 2025, which means you got some more years to go. But at any point in those 7 years, you can choose this moment as being the shaping moment, the changing moment, the branding moment, the moment where you take a choice and you choose to change your narrative and say, this moment will determine the trajectory in which I go. There's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics where they talk about your focus, and they talk about your attention, where you lay your attention. So I want you to think of 2 words before we leave, because this isn't going to be long or drawn out. We got about 4 minutes left. We're doing a half hour today. Intention and attention. You focus your attention where your intention is, and make sure your intention is where you focus the majority of your attention, so that you can get where you're trying to go and keep your focus there. Because as long as your focus is there and you design the map and you set the outcome, then there's something that takes over called the subconscious, and the subconscious will lead you in the direction of your intention and attention. See, a lot of you started this year with phenomenal ideas, and then life showed up and it kind of shifted your intention because you took your attention off of it. Some of us entered 2020, COVID happened, and we said, we're going to launch this and we're going to do this and things are never going to be the same. And this is who I'm going to be. And then something shifted. We said, we're going to go to college and we're going to start to go to work and we're going to work for this outcome and we're going to end up here. But something happened around the midpoint that shifted us this way. And instead of being here, we're somewhere over here. How many of you started your brand with high hopes, high expectations, high revenue goals, high impact goals, and got sidetracked or distracted, almost subtracted, and taken off of course?
Yeah.
I know it's happened to me. I've watched it happen to Bobby, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to write down a final word for the rest of this meeting, and we're going to call it like stoppage, and that's alignment. Brand alignment. What you want is congruence between what we call your MVPs, your morals, values, and principles, and your outcomes, your brand outcomes. You don't get anything else from this call. What are your morals, your values, your principles? And what are the brand outcomes that you want for your life and your business? You make sure that those two things are congruent, and you'll understand in a small amount of time why I say that the personal brand is your new retirement plan. I'll see you guys soon. Let's grow. The reason why I did this and what I do is help leaders to become brands and brand themselves. You train people how to treat you by how you treat yourself. I teach authenticity marketing. If people can take advantage of you, they will in your personal or professional existence.
My biggest takeaway just from day one is you are the brand. I would recommend it to anybody that's really looking to build a personal brand.
Just the brand in general has changed my life. I've grown so much since I've been a part of this.
I see myself in what he does, and I believe in it just as much as I believe in myself.